All right, thank you so much for joining us today. This is from Valdemas Intelligence, and I am Dr. Joshua Kolawole. We're talking about transformational leadership, basically. We always said change is when you alter something within the same context or culture, but transformation is when we go ahead and alter the people, the culture itself, the context of the person, and then generate great and massive results. So because of that, transformation is a bigger leap as compared to change. So for those who are science students who would understand this probably well, if you remember an electron that runs around an orbital, you can keep changing your location around the orbital as you run around that imaginary space. But when you make up your mind to move from one orbital level, one energy level, because each orbital has its own energy level, and you decide to leap to an orbital with a higher energy level, then we're talking about transformation, because what you're doing is that you're leaving a realm completely. You're transforming yourself to a bigger, to a higher energy level. Of course, it comes with its own responsibility. It comes with its own discipline. At any point when you move from an energy level to another energy level, you must have actually gained a certain amount of energy for you to even make it to the next orbital. So you won't gain that energy if you don't become disciplined, and if you don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. And that's when we're talking about it in the concept of human now. So meaning, what would empower you to live your best life now? It's very simple. It's something that requires discipline. It's well, I know the word discipline is a strange word. People really want to run away from it as much as possible because it looks like it doesn't just fit well with the human context. Human context just feels comfort is better, but you don't become great in comfort zone. You do not become great when you live just on the basic rhythm of life. If you really want to advance the course of your life, if you want to write your story well, because you only got one opportunity to live. You can see Mae West also affirms to this. And I'm sure even the Bible also make a reference to that as well. You only have one life to live. If you do it right, once is enough. Sorry, can we go on mute? I'm hearing some background noises. That's from where, please? Can we go on mute, please? Is that from FKZN? Can you mute her? All right, great. Excellent. So it's fun that we have people at the ceremony. It looks like that's a party ground, but that's great. We've got one life to live. We also need to enjoy that life. But today's discussion is focused on transformational leadership, and I will say we have only one life to live. But if you do it right, once is enough. You see the statement that an unlived life is not worth evaluating, and however, an unevaluated or unexamined life is not worth living. I want to bring you through a course today that will talk about evaluation. Even though today will be the part one of it, by next month edition of this webinar series, we would be able to go in depth into more practical ways to get this done. What I would do in the next one is I would actually come with maybe one or two frameworks that you can actually use to evaluate your life. You can use it to evaluate your project. You can use it to evaluate whatever you get yourself involved in. And if we don't put intentionality into evaluation, into monitoring and evaluation, we just are saying like we're not interested in greatness. So I want us to know that if you really are passionate about transformation, if you really want to alter the course of your life, it won't happen instantly. It might even look like you have a delayed result. Because when you compare yourself sometimes with people around you, you will see that a lot of them might even have bolted away, as in they are just some miles ahead of you. But what you're doing is you're building a whole lot of energy so that you can leave one energy level and jump to the next energy level. This is a concept that is similar to, of course, the electron physics that we teach. If you look at the mechanical part of physics, which talks about just a body in motion, you can continue in motion as long as you keep gaining energy, but you can also continue in a uniform motion where you're really not accelerating again. You're not burning extra energy again. And that's a dangerous place to be, because at that point, you will not be able to leap onto the next curve of innovation. I was discussing with a friend last night, and we're talking about the ability of men to actually change their course, and that when during their own time, they've forgotten that what generated results immediately in their own generation might not be exactly what would generate results for their own children's generation. So in other words, what you need to teach your kids is the principle that supports transformation. You don't need to be stuck with a method. The methods will change, but the principles will remain the same. So I bring you to a world of evaluation, and I want you to know that even God evaluated every scenario, and you as a living being, if you really want to transform whatever system you have, you need to keep evaluating. If you look at modern nature as well, modern nature has kept evaluating the world, and it has kept yielding its own result based on what we've been doing. A very good example that would strike you so hard is the concept of climate change. We're all familiar with climate change. You know that the average temperature of the world is rising. And because of that, all the ices in the Arctic and Antarctic regions get melted in, and of course, that's metric trillion volume of water, making it inland. And of course, you've been hearing about floods and stuff at different places across the world. And it's called for global attention. Billions of nairas and dollars have been expended on that, or talking about climate change. But one important thing that should strike you deeply now is this. Climate change is a response of modern nature to what we've been doing. So that means modern nature is evaluating our industrialization, our globalization, and is then responding based on that. So what I am saying to you today is that when you take a path of evaluation, it would help you to now start responding in a different way to stimulus. So you won't just see things from a single perspective alone again. Before you know it, you would start analyzing things with a different eyes. And what is the kind of eyes I need you to start analyzing things with? I want you to analyze things with the eye of seeing the end from the beginning, which is the nature of all great minds. If you're not able to cast a vision into the future, if you're not able to cast a vision ahead of time, then you probably are not even ready for greatness from the beginning. So what do you see in 5 years? Who do you see about yourself in 10 years? These are the things that determines what you do today. It is not what you do today that determines what you would become in 10 years. It is who you want to become, the picture of you can see in your mind that would happen in 10 years. That's who you will become.
Welcome.
Consistent evaluation is key to living your best life. Consistent evaluation is key to living your best life. We want to analyze the concept of living your best life now. And I want you to know that if you do not program yourself on an evaluatory journey, then you're not ready for the best life. I need to maybe pause at this point and explain what I mean by the concept of best life. The concept of best life is a life that is matching purpose. It's a life that is living itself based on the reason for your existence. That means you have asked yourself the deep why. You know the what, you know the why, you know the how, and you even know the what next. 4 layers. You know the what, you know the how, you know the you know the why, you know the how, and then you know the what next. Because being in your best life does not mean you are at the beach at Miami. Because you may think that's the life you should be living, whereas by purpose, you're supposed to be giving yourself away on the shores of Africa. You may think living your best life is to live in a big city and maybe enjoying yourself on a high tower building, whereas the purpose that you have been defined by, the purpose why you're here, what you're here for, because you've got one chance to live in this life, and the purpose why you're here for is for you to actually give yourself away to be a teacher of excellence, to be a motivational speaker who would support people's dream, ambition, and intellectually stimulate or motivate or inspire them to drive themselves to the best to the best of themselves. So if you start judging yourself by another person's life, and you see just the picture of maybe Mae West herself, and you see a picture by the shores somewhere in Europe, and you think, wow, that's the kind of life I want to live, you may be wrong. You may actually be thinking about a wrong life that is not for you. So I need us to come to a clearer perspective today that living your best life, sorry, there's a background noise. Can we mute? Hello? Can we all be on mute, please? Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, living your best life means that you're focused on what exactly is my purpose here on earth, and you are matching the purpose per time. That is why evaluation is so significant. I would also explain another concept why evaluation is so significant. Take a picture like this. Let's say we want to measure a straight line between here and Lagos. Lagos, perhaps from where I am now in the city of Dallas, is about 10,000 maybe kilometers or 10,000 miles. But on a conservative mode, let me use 10,000 kilometers. I'm not quite sure of that exact distance, but it should be about 10,000 kilometers from here. So imagine I want to do a straight line journey from here to Lagos, Nigeria, Dallas, United States. So if anything happens when I start my journey and I miss that straight line angle by just 0.01 degree, if I miss that straight line angle by just a little distance, either because there's too much wind here in Dallas and it just pushes me away by 0.01, everyone that sees me will still see that I'm on the straight line going to Lagos. But the truth about it is, it will take an intelligent evaluator, a sincere evaluator, to start seeing by the time I travel 500 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers, I would start seeing that I'm no longer on the pathway to Lagos. So what I'm saying in essence is that just a little degree of deviation may not show important significance right away. A little bit of drop in standard, drop in what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to live, or maybe the kind of consistent saving habits you're supposed to have, consistent academic trainings you're supposed to have, consistent learning and meditation sessions you're supposed to have, consistent mentoring sessions you're supposed to subject yourself to, maybe consistent conferences and seminars that you're supposed to go, consistent network marketing meetings you're supposed to attend, or networking meetings that you're supposed to attend. Maybe those slight deviation, or even just your capacity to make friends, to interact with friends, all those consistent little gaps that we put in our life that we just assume it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. In fact, some of you will just say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All those little, it doesn't matter. They are just slight deviation, and justifiably so. They come in a way where it's difficult. It requires a strange level of discipline for you to even generate such results. So I'm not in a blame game, because monitoring and evaluation is not supposed to blame you. Monitoring and evaluation is supposed to help you do what we call course correction. Course correction meaning when you notice the deviation, then you find your way back to the true north of where you have set up yourself to go to. So in your relationship, you make sure you restore yourself back to the true north. In your finances, you restore yourself back to the true north. In pursuing physical health, you make sure you remain physically healthy, exercises, you restore yourself back to the true north. How many steps am I supposed to take daily that would help me maintain my goal? What's the standard weight for me? How do I get myself back to those standard weight? Am I supposed to be doing 3 days fasting a week? For some of us, maybe because of our weight and size, we probably qualify for 3 or 4 days fasting per week. But if you're doing 1 day and you think you're doing what is right, you're still not well aligned to purpose. So what I'm saying is, what's the strategic thing you want to become? What's that great ideal you're pursuing? And then you start living your life in alignment with that. So because I have locked in Lagos as my destination, I am supposed to travel on a straight line, and then I keep aligning myself back to. But do you know that it's not every time that an aircraft travels straight? Sometimes they have to take detours because of different contracts with the airspaces of different countries. It's very funny that even a journey from Istanbul to Rwanda that I did a couple of days ago, and I saw on the map that it should look like a straight line. By the time we're airborne, we didn't actually travel straight. I saw a lot of detour as how the aircraft was navigating across different countries' airspace, and how we even moved over the Mediterranean to realign ourselves back to the true north of where we were going towards Rwanda, where we're coming back towards Istanbul. So what am I saying in essence? Sometimes you might need to take a detour just to be able to get some other things along the line, but it doesn't mean you're losing focus. But one thing that will be more dangerous is if you're not clear by evaluation why you need to take the detour, get the extra advantage you need to get, and then restore back to your true north, and then keep going. For our time's sake, I would like to define evaluation. Evaluation is a systematic determination and assessment of a subject's merit, your worth, your significance, and it's usually governed, of course, there will be criteria governed by a set of standards. So that means there is a standard, there's a true north. The question I keep asking people is, what is the standard you're living your life by? It must be a documented standard. It must be a value system that is strong, that has traveled across many generations. It's not just what you came up with all of a sudden. It's not something that is emotionally driven. It's not something that is subjective. It's something that is more objective. And that is why when I talk about evaluation, I speak more to external evaluation, which is more or less biased, more objective, as against an internal form of evaluation where you can't be clouded by your emotions, by your judgment, and you can even tell yourself, look, I've tried enough, I've fought. And you see, the higher you go, the more careful you need to become, because the more you succeed, the more the burden of success. I was talking to a friend yesterday as well, but I've actually said this over and over, that do you know that success itself is a curse? Because the curse of success is that you need to maintain success. And for you to maintain success, you have to keep paying the price daily. So what you don't get is, I want to be successful, I want to make it to a big country. When you make it to the big country, the amount of taxes you will be paying will be bigger. When you make it to the big country, the amount of money you'll be paying for rent will be higher. When you make it to a big, so success itself, in a way, it's a curse. I want to get a master's. If you get the master's degree, then life places higher demand on you to deliver more. I want to be a married man, then life places a higher definition of responsibility on you that requires you to defend your marital status. Otherwise, you will have to become divorced or something else. So what I'm saying is, when you succeed at achieving something, it also speaks to the fact that then you're placing more demand, more burden on you. So in a way, for a transformed mind, success, and like I always say this, profit and loss is equal, because when you go through a loss, you can learn from it and it will power you to success. But when you become successful, you also must keep learning from it so that you can keep maintaining the success story. And then if you don't know, life changes with time. Time is a major system-based scenario that drives us. You don't want to be a man who is just driving a car at maybe 80 years old. It's no longer valuable. At that point, you're of age and all those. So people would say success is best achieved per time, per unit time. So because of that, you want to keep the pace of success. You want to make sure things are continuously improving. Things are continuous. You're continuously innovating, changing, adapting, adjusting, and moving forward. And because you need to do that, you need to keep evaluating yourself, because it is only when you evaluate based on a formative system where you run daily, weekly, monthly, and maybe even annual checks. And then maybe annually you now do a summative form of evaluation. That is when you will now be able to see what you have, how well you've been, how well you've gone. But don't forget, you must evaluate yourself against the standard. Evaluation affirms what is excellent, the standard, and what is right, while it seeks to redirect that which is deficient and unacceptable. So sincere evaluation requires that you redirect that which is deficient and unacceptable. So that means because you have defined a standard for yourself, whatever is not acceptable, you will readjust. Let me paint a very simple picture. I set out, I joined the financial system many years ago. And when I joined, from the first month, I created a standard in my mind that I want to have a savings that was equal to, as at then, about $2,000. And I'm using dollars. I wasn't in the dollar economy then, but I just wanted to. And I set up my mind to make sure that within 6 months, I was going. So that means I have to analyze how much am I earning now, and then I have to calculate how much would I be able to save, remove from my income monthly, and then be able to put into the savings system. So I set up my mind that way. But at the end of the 6 months, I reevaluated my circumstances. I set out to achieve $2,000, but I eventually matched $1,600, equivalent of that as at then. So what is unacceptable? The gap is $400. So I had to make up my mind that in the next 6 months, I'm not only going to compensate for that gap, I am also going to advance my cost. So I had to increase. So that is the essence of evaluation. Evaluation helps you to look into your system, look into your life. So another example is I set up my mind, I will be walking 2 hours every Saturday. Every Saturday, I want to walk for 7 miles averagely. If you set up your mind that way, anytime you miss a Saturday, you know that is deficient, that is unacceptable. So that is what evaluation helps you to do. Evaluation requires that we engage our highly developed faculty. That is, you must align your cognition with your emotional mind, and then with your tactile mind. So I'm talking about the capacity of your brain to see itself physically strong. So that means you're not only integrating your cognitive part, that's your higher place of mental reasoning, thinking, analyzing of stuff, but you're aligning it with your affective part of your life. That's your emotional part, that's your subconscious mind, but you're also aligning it with your psychomotor part. That is your physical way of doing things. So if you say, I will wake up 5 a.m. every morning, I will run 2 kilometers, I will jog for 2 kilometers, that means you need to make sure your brain accepts that reality. In your experience mind, that's your emotional mind, you must love this thing. If you don't love that thing, if you don't create a pressure on your emotion to accommodate or accept that thing, integrate it with the cognition, what you've understood about the advantage of jogging, which would help you with a healthy physical status. If you don't integrate that two together, then come and integrate it with the psychomotor part of your mind, where you know after the jogging, you will feel body pains. There will be some price to pay. If you don't integrate those three together, and that's why I said highly developed faculty. So that means you must have trained that faculty to be disciplined. If you train the faculty to be disciplined, then you would understand that life is then worth living. But if you don't, without engaging that, life is not worth living. So I've spoken to rational thinking and deep reflection because that's the cognitive part of you. The cognitive part of you will strengthen you for continuous learning. But for you to have strength of character, you need to deal with your emotions. It's as simple as that. You need to deal with your emotions, because without emotions, you won't have clarity of purpose and you won't have the courage to make things happen. It's that straightforward. It's that simple. That's the easiest way for me to just say it. You need to deal with your mind that wants to experience something in a comfortable way, and let the mind know that as long as you remain in this comfortable position, we will not become great, except you have settled for a life of lack of greatness. And I do not want you to do that. What I want is great minds. Who I want is an exceptional thinker, someone who is ready to set himself up on a great pedestal. So another thing you need to know is that you need to keep evaluating the quality of minds in your culture every time. Your culture must be a culture of excellence, a culture that is just, a culture that is inspiring and innovative, a culture that keeps advancing, that keeps changing, that keeps evolving. At this point, I would like you to know one thing. If you want to raise your existence above just mere creatures, you see, there are mere men on earth. There's no need to deceive ourselves. There are people who will ultimately live a mere life. You need to make up your mind to separate yourself from amongst them. And it should be a subject of your prayer. It should be a title, subheading of your life. I will not be a mere man. I've made up my mind to separate myself from mere men. You see, if you do not think like a God, and a God creates, that's the difference. If you do not think like a God, your life will be simply a life of eating, sleeping, working, playing, and procreating. And we will not be able to distinguish you from animals in the long run. If you set up your mind to be a great person, the goal about life is for you to keep innovating, thinking, and advancing. And you need to create, you need to synthesize, you need to analyze deeply, you need to engage deep learning, deep thinking, integrate this together with strength of character, with discipline, and then be able to use it to bat ideas, bat concept, bat frameworks, bat clarity, help people connect the dots, help people live a life in a simpler way, help people to adjust how they do things, how they see things, how they hear things, how they play, how they love, how they walk, how they run around, how they do things. If you do not do that, then you will not have been different from an animal who just walked on the surface, ate, slept, walked, laid, and then procreated and moved on. You do not want to just be a genealogical staple pin that just connects one generation to another. Your goal in life is to birth something, is to birth an idea, is to leave a major landmark on the sands of time. That is the essence of your existence. That's the essence of your living. We did not just give you this. If you spend 100 years on earth and that's 100 times, let's say 365 days multiplied by, okay, maybe plus some 25 days because of the leap year. And then you multiply that by 24 hours, multiply that by a number of minutes and number of seconds. If you multiply all those, we didn't just give you those number of seconds for you to come here and just eat, sleep, be playing around and procreating. You are here to make a difference, to make a mark on the sands of time. So, what are the things I need you to evaluate? I need you to evaluate growth. And because of that, you need to really ask yourself, who am I becoming? Please, I need you to pause for a second and ask yourself, who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? It's a crucial question you should ask yourself, because if you want to evaluate growth, you would have to check yourself, am I actually changing externally, or I am transforming myself internally? And I want to encourage us, it's the transformation of your soul that is crucial to greatness. Do not be deceived by people that just change externally. Resist people who change externally, they resist internal growth. They resist internal healing or internal living. They deceive themselves. They live in deceit. If you really want to grow, if you really want transformational growth, please make sure you're bigger in your mind than you appear on the outside. That means make sure you have studied, you have the stuff to live 50 years ahead of you, inside you, and you're just living your life now. Don't in any time make sure you're smaller on the outside as you are on the inside, please. The goal is not what you're achieving now, because on the day of cross-examination, life will always expose what your sincere focus is, what you have been consistent about, what your current strength is, and what your maturity is. And what I mean by days of cross-examination, some of you, as we're talking, you're already going through your days of cross-examination. So some of us go through evaluations daily, and I mean, it is life now cross-examining you now, not you evaluating your life. Because life will always bring tests, we bring trials, we make decisions daily. Those decisions, those choices, they speak to our focus, they speak to what we've been consistently thinking about, they speak to our strength, they speak to our maturity. I'm sure you know the popular statement that says, if you fail in the days of adversity, your strength is little. If you fail in the days of adversity, what you just told us is you told us your focus, your consistency, and your level of maturity. So I want to urge you today, how do I transform my mind? How do I grow? Because I know that's a major burden on us. I will not deceive you. There are very strategic principles that you need to do. But one that is a top on the list, is that make sure no day goes by without you reading books. Make sure no day goes by without you, and you're reading both technical stuff in your field and leadership adaptive stuff. Don't focus too much on technical alone. Don't focus too much on leadership alone. So if I'm in the world of economics, I must be reading materials, journals, magazines, articles on economical concepts every day. Please do not allow a day go by without you checking Google to learn something from an article or journal. Make sure you feed your mind the same way you eat food directly to your physical body daily. Make sure your soul is enriched every day. And when your soul is getting enriched with leadership concepts and with technical concepts in your field, make sure you're using it to formulate value system that is strong. In that analysis, think. That's where the place of deep thinking comes in. Make sure you're creating boundaries of what you will do and what you will not do. The things you will not do are very, very crucial. The things you're ready to look away from. And that is why I encourage people, please be bigger on the inside of you. Spiritually, dedicate yourself to, if you believe God, then be devoted. Be devoted and aligned with his principles deeply. Make sure you're disciplined by those principles. Mentally and emotionally be disciplined. Don't just take careless decisions. Don't just be too nice and too emotional. Life runs on principles, and life can punish the simple. And so because of that, you need to make sure in your inner mind, you're bigger, more in your mind. That means you have enriched your inner mind with more great information. Another way that is close to reading daily is for you to listen. If you can set up your mind to get mentors who are already 30, 40, 50 years ahead of you. Either they are, it depends. For spiritual part, either they are the men of God in your spiritual line, or in your academic line, they are the leaders, professors, researchers in that area. And if it's in terms of emotional strength, you may need a counselor, a mentor who would help you heal out of all the hurt you've been going through. You may need to talk to a counselor and just even pour out your mind and hear from their perspective, and then it will help you. So it's not a bad thing for you to seek audience with a counselor in your university, in your environment. If you know that anyone is a counselor in your church, in your mosque, anywhere you worship, or in anything you do, seek audience with them, because sometimes we don't even know we're going through some emotional hurt. A lot of times I have to tell myself about how to get myself out of some hurt, because I have to listen to some videos to help me reanalyze why I'm doing things. Because one thing you don't know is that some of us, because we have been hurt before by someone, what you are now doing, you're living your life in response to that person. You're living your life just to become successful so that you can respond to that person and tell the person, can you see now you're the one that missed the opportunity? You don't have to do that, please. You're not living your life in response to someone. And that's why I don't post things on my status carelessly, because I'm not responding to anybody. I am living my life. If you come on my status, you're just seeing who I am. It's not like I want to live my life to respond to you. And with that, it has helped me to control how I live my life. And I'm not emotionally entangled or in bondage to you. So I have to reevaluate things properly before I even post them or do them, because I don't want to be trapped in the triangle of trying to respond to someone. It is who you are becoming that matters, the new creation that is battered when we integrate your character with the impact you're going to make, the purpose for coming here. And that is how to evaluate growth. I would also love you to evaluate the concept we call humility and low self-esteem, because we live in a culture that most likely would want you to think less of yourself. Whereas the goal is to think of yourself less. Don't think less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less is what we're saying. So a true humility, you can see C.S. Lewis says, is not thinking less of your capacity to become great. Because if you're doing that, you have been trapped into low self-esteem. So when they say, can you go to Harvard? You say, no. Because in your mind, you have thought less of yourself, like, if I attended this school, there's no way I can make it to Harvard. That is not humility. As quote and unquote, some people will say, if they say, can you do a project of this capacity, you will be thinking less of yourself if you cannot imagine or evaluate it in your consciousness. But what we're saying is thinking of yourself less, meaning you're not trying to put yourself at the forefront of everything and saying, I did it, I can do it, I altered it. Because if you do this, what you're doing is you're just announcing yourself without building a capacity to back yourself up. So the reason why you should think of yourself less, secondly, is that when you think of yourself less, you will be able to give yourself to service, to sacrifice, to making things happen for others so that others will make it happen for you. Otherwise, if you're thinking of yourself more, if there's a resource on ground, your goal will be how to mop up everything and run away. And that will be a selfish life. That will be a narcissistic life. You don't want to be caught in that because that will not be true humility. So true humility is actually not the fact that you're running on a low self-esteem, because for some people, they don't even imagine themselves handling greatness. And that's a low self-esteem. That is not pride. It becomes pride when you want all attention to be directed to you. It becomes pride when you want to be the one to get the largest share of something because you think you just deserve it. No, you're supposed to learn to give back to the society. So we must project a level of confidence that reflects our true knowledge, skills, and abilities. And we must prevent selfishness of not wanting to put others' values and dignity and gains ahead of ours. So if you're thinking of yourself less, you will advance other people, you will support them to also become great. So if I'm in an organization, I will not be looking for ways to sabotage you just because I want to get back at you. And you see, that's crucial. It's a crucial thing to talk about because we've been trained to be very competitive. And in the bid of being very competitive, we tend to become narcissistic, we tend to become selfish. Because even when you have access to some information that will help the organization, because you think it is when I present that information, then they see me as the most important staff here. And then you hoard the information until the point where everybody is now present and you now want to use it to shine. When you do that, you're simply not a humble person. Because what you're doing is you're trying to advance your value, your dignity alone ahead of that of others. But when you think as a team player and you're ready to ensure that you can all do it as a team, but it is not compulsory to be about you. The glory does not have to come to you. Once you can get yourself to that point, then you've opened a great pathway of humility for yourself. So once you're evaluating your life, I need you to evaluate the concept of humility and that of low self-esteem. Humility is being open-minded to the truth. It's a state where you're comfortable with both compliment and criticism. So it's as simple as once you meet someone, that once you start analyzing what is not working well with them and they flare up, just know that the person is not humble enough in that area. Humility is being open-minded to the truth about your circumstance, because there's no way you can do true evaluation without true humility. So once you meet someone, or we are in an organization and we're doing a meeting, and I just start talking about some part of the system that is not working well, and maybe that relates to someone, and the person starts flaring up. And more especially when I try to compliment the person's good side, and the person is always admiring me, just know that the person is not a humble person, because with humility comes a balance in your mind, that even when they are criticizing you openly and negatively, you are able to even welcome criticism, and you're able to leverage that criticism to be able to build strength. Because if you're not open to negative criticism, there's really no way you would even grow. And so we have to be sincere with ourselves. So you see a lot of emotional minds, they just say, you're judging me. Why are you judging me? We are not judging you. We're only applying wisdom. And wisdom tells us to distinguish between right and wrong. So when we appear like we're criticizing you, the goal is not to tear you down. It's not criticism, as it were. The goal is to help you look at those areas and work on it and become at least better about it. And then on your strength, advance your strength so that it will cover up for more of your weakness. So don't feel bad when people criticize you, please. In fact, it's a sign that you're getting more humble when you are able to handle criticism properly. When you are able to handle criticism and you still maintain your focus. You can imagine during the campaign between, I think, Joe Biden and Donald Trump a couple of years ago, not this current one that is running. I remember Donald Trump always calling Joe Biden Sloppy Joe. Sloppy Joe. If he was not a person of a balanced esteem and a great humble person, that can even trip you. That can force you down. So people can even try to even pick on a negative part of your life that you really don't want people to talk about. But if you're not truly a humble person, it will be difficult for you to handle. And you may not even be composed enough to keep advancing what you're doing in life. And that is why it is critical, it is crucial for us to find a very strategic place to be humble, to tell ourselves the open truth. So when someone tells you about a negative around, within, about you, embrace it with all sincerity. Embrace it and don't become distasteful or hate the person. Just embrace the person with a whole lot of love, and that would help you a great deal. So your willingness to seek and to submit to feedback from your team, from your peers, from your superior, even from people below you, it's a great definition of humility. When we submit to this kind of feedback, despite the humiliation that we might feel at the moment, because sometimes the way some people will express it might even appear humiliating to you, but that's to show that you're truly humble when you're even able to embrace them and still be composed. And then we begin to grow in true open-mindedness. What's the next thing I would like you to evaluate? Still on humility and low self-esteem. Humility is a spectrum that is bounded on both sides by two extremes. There's the side of the overconfidence and there's the side of the exaggerated lowliness. I don't want you to be overly confident. You must know the limit of your strength. Please know the limit of your authority. Know the limit of your strength. Know the limit of your power and authority in any scenario. And know when to decline some undue accolades that does not belong to you. But the exaggerated lowliness is some people will keep quiet. They will now want to hand praise. They will pretend like they are the humble people. Pretense or trying to exaggerate yourself as a calm and gentle, humble person, then is also an evil that people have concocted together in system to manipulate people, especially narcissistic people. They use it to manipulate people to get gains for themselves. So you have to be careful, please. Exaggerated lowliness means you try to pretend like you are humble. So in any scenario, you become gentle and calm so that people will accord some degree of humility to you, quote and unquote. Or you strive to hand praise. You do something so that people will know that you are the one who did it. Sometimes you can even be subtle about it, but you position it so that they will know you're the one who did it. If you're doing that in your mind, you're not humble. That's exaggerated lowliness. So on the other hand, of course, we know low self-esteem. Be careful of the concept of sanctified low self-esteem, especially in a system. It destroys you. It destroys the system. Over a long period of time, you will see that this concept of people who demonstrate this lowliness or this low self-esteem kind of thing, and they become so gentle in an organization, you even like them. But the problem you will notice with them over time is that they are inefficient. They demonstrate some lackadaisical attitude, and they are the ones who perpetrate mediocrity. They don't go the extra mile for anything. They don't do anything extra. They will just be gentle in the system. And in most cases, some leaders like them because they think they are the ones who obey all the rules. No, you need to keep challenging people. That's when you will know their true nature. So do not fall for the trap of those who want to use low self-esteem to buy inefficiency, lackadaisical attitude, or drive mediocrity in your system. Always put pressure on people and check if they are willing to yield. And that's why don't be careful about those who want to use this concept of lowliness to manipulate you in any system. I want you to also learn to evaluate the concept of emotional love and transforming love in your environment. The first question I want you to know is that We all have our childlike kind of love. That's the motherly love that rescues a child always from trouble. It's the emotional form of love. But the kind of love that will change your generation is the love that will take you through discipline process, painful process. It's the kind of love that will discipline you when you mess up. That's the kind of love that thinks and make choices in, you see, emotional love thinks and make choices in keeping with self-gains instead of thinking about system dependencies. Emotional love wants immediate results, whereas a transforming love wants delayed gratification. Emotional love wants to live within their comfort zone. They seek security and safety more. They take the fastest and the easiest way out. They just want to escape when things become tough. If you notice yourself, you just want to escape when things become tough, you're running on an emotional love. You must have the stamina to stand and learn and become better and become strong. They want to avoid standards and lay down principles. If you see people who want to run away from lay down principles or create convenient rules which suit their ways of life or excuses their unguardedness, that is emotional love. They conform to the order of the culture. They do not challenge the norm. They are socialized minds and they are always boxed in. That's simply people who run on emotional love. The other side is people who have grown themselves from the emotional love, that childlike love, to a transforming kind of to a transforming love concept. The matured kind of love is a love that is based on discipline, patience, and genuine growth. This is the love that drives or grows disciplined mind. You must embrace the disciplined battle rhythm if you want to become a transforming mind, if you want to transform your environment. That means you think and make decisions about what happens in the system before you even consider your own self-gain. You have built capacity for patience to endure due process. If you want to be someone of great disdain, you must have stamina to stand for long. You're ready to build over time. You think about long-term sustainability. This is the love that endures, perseveres, and births sustained greatness. You see, transforming love, the love that makes the difference, is the love that lives outside of your comfort zone. You tend to seek accomplishment and fulfillment more. And that's why you see people who have embraced this love to work hard on themselves and become disciplined. They know that to become transformed, they need to work diligently, following instructions, following principles and laws. That is basic. And these are the kind of people who are able to think outside or outside of the box or without the box. They always challenge the norm. They challenge the regular order of things. They are risk takers and they love to distinguish themselves. If you're going to evaluate yourself and live your best life now, I would say you should embrace transforming love. I need you to evaluate the concept of wisdom and foolishness as I'm getting close to the end of my slide. You see, in life, there are rocks, there are stones, and there are sands. It will take quality of thinking, clarity of purpose, and transformation of your mind to be able to distinguish these three things that I've just said. I said in life, there are rocks, there are stones, and there are sands. It will take quality of thinking, clarity of your purpose, and transformation of your mind to understand these three layers. There are some things in your life that they are sands. There are some things that are stones, that they are stronger than sand, they are more compact, but they are not still rocks. And there are some things that are rocks. I would embrace you, enjoin you, please. Build on rocks, build with rocks, and build rocks. That is, invest in big ideas and ideals that can transform your life. Invest in big learning system, things that can help you change, that can cause you to metamorphose. So an example is a basic guy that just has a degree. I would say pursue another bigger degree, pursue another bigger training that will position you to be able to get a greater job or build a greater business. I would say pursue something that will transform you. You must meticulously build structure. Avoid anything that wants to give you money now and tell you within a short period you will gain a big gain. Anybody who builds with rush will build on sand. They will build with sand, and the sand would be destroyed on the day of cross-examination. So foolishness speaks to lack of knowledge, lack of information, and lack of experience. Foolish people focus on, they say outcomes justifies the means. Therefore, they find a way to manipulate results without building the requisite cultural and structural framework for sustainability. What a wise person will do is that they take time to build their wealth. And they build all around. As you're learning, you're doing better thinking, you're building your financial system, you're building your social network. So when you hear me say, I go for seminars, I go for conferences, I'm not only going there for knowledge, I'm also going there to build my social network, so that I have people around me who can support me. I meet mentors there. I meet mentees there. Mentees inform me. Mentors also inform me. And I become an integration of the younger generation and the older generation. And hence, I become wiser. I learn more experience. I have access to more information, more tools to do things better. I have access to more relationship that I can pick up my phone and make a difference at every point where I need to. So wisdom is the quality of having practical experience, knowledge, and good judgment. It is the ability to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So I want you to keep evaluating wisdom and foolishness everywhere you go. And don't forget, always build on rocks. Rocks are transformational things that you would do for yourself. And one example is when you invest in your academic or career development. Number two, rock is because these are transgenerational or transformational things. When you go and do great investments that you can leave for your children's children, those are rocks. When you buy stocks of a blue chip company that is going to outlive you, that is investing in rocks. When you buy real estate properties, that is investing in rocks, and you fine-tune all the paperwork, please, so that it's legal. That's investing in rocks. Sands are when you invest in food, things you will eat now, the clothes you will wear now, the shoe you will wear now, the bags you carry now, the hair that you put on you for 3 weeks or 4 weeks and it's gone. All those things are sand. They are the things that come with rushing, those things. And if you calculate how much you invest in those things, if you're not a disciplined person, you would have invested so much in sand that you have less to invest for stones and for rocks. I tell myself I must annually invest major bulk of my money in rocks, building systems, building a company, supporting big organizations, even donating money hugely to a cause is a rock, because you're actually investing it into your future. So I need you to think through how you live your life. Are you building on rocks, building with rocks, and building rocks? Because it's only when you build rocks that on the day of cross-examination, when the storm comes, that you'll be able to stand. Towards the end now, I want you to evaluate leadership and political qualities in your life. You see, every day we are humans. We have to demonstrate some strength of leadership, but occasionally we also have to play the politician part of our society. And I want you to please pay attention to this as I'm trying to get close to the end of my presentation. Leadership requires clarity of identity, to take responsibility with integrity, to be accountable and transparent, to lead a life of service, stewardship, and sacrifice. Leadership will require that you are intellectually stimulated, so you must be looking for knowledge daily and analyze the knowledge from superficial knowledge to profound knowledge. You must be inspirational, that means you must be inspiring, and you must be motivating. You must be empathic, you must heal faster. When people offend you, you must heal and move on to the next thing. You don't allow offenses to hold you down. Please, as a leader, healing faster is a crucial part of your life. You must be emotionally intelligent enough to pre-forgive people before they even offend you. That's the best way that will save you out of being emotionally entangled. In fact, you must be able to pre-calculate ahead of people. And then you must be able to build a community of leaders. Notice, I didn't say community of people. I said community of leaders. Because you can build community of people and you think you're a leader. But you only become a leader when you have community of leaders around you. Politicians campaign in poetry. I'm sure we know that. But they have to govern in prose. So in most cases, politicians take responsibility, but they don't do it with integrity. So sometimes some of us, when they ask us a question, you just want to be responsible to that person, but you don't answer the question with utmost integrity. So sometimes we tell some people, you're doing well. And you know within you that the person is really not doing well. We do it even for our politicians. When they are not doing well, we just tell them they are doing well because we don't want to maybe dampen their morale, or just because you don't want to go into the emotional tension that comes with such crucial conversation. I understand with you. And that's why I say occasionally, we also play the politician card around us, but we need to be careful. We need to navigate or gravitate more towards leadership than away from being a politician. Politicians are not readily accountable and transparent. Everywhere in the world, politicians are not readily accountable and it takes pressure sometimes to get them to be accountable. They actually do one thing, they step out to serve, but in most cases, they didn't plan to sacrifice themselves, which is against the core tenet of leadership. You can see Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, you can see Martin Luther King Jr. These guys went above and beyond board to sacrifice themselves for a cause they believe in. The same thing goes with Jesus Christ. Those as in the ultimate sacrifices. You can list many leaders in history like that. So you will see the difference between leadership and being a politician. So I want you to avoid to be less of a politician and more of a leader. They are generally not continuous learners and thinkers, and they build a community of followers and servants because that is what aligns well with politics. You need numbers to win the political game. So because of that, they don't care about building leaders because that one requires more energy, more focus, more diligence. It will take more from them. And because they are not really planning to sacrifice themselves, they eventually build community of followers and servants. So be careful. Evaluate faith and fact. I think this is the last point as I'm trying to wrap up in like 3 to 4 minutes. Thank you so much for bearing with me and staying for this long. And I hope you have your questions jotted down that you can ask. Basically, reality is driven by fact, but the fact is not truth. Faith is powered by truth and principle. I need us to get that clearly. Fact is driven by logic and understanding with our 5 senses, but that does not mean that's your reality. I want you to be careful. It is not what is happening around you immediately that is actually happening to you. So sometimes you may have just $10 in your bank account and you're frustrated, but that is not you. The potential you've got on your inside is great. And as long as you keep focused on your great ambition, it's only a matter of time. You will trade that internal virtue for greater wealth. So please don't forget that fact is driven by logic and understanding from our 5 senses. And you need to know, I know that we live in a tangible, a visible world, that they will only respect you based on the Gucci or the Ferrari that you're driving or the Lamborghini, Maserati. But really, don't forget, you need to build that Maserati value in your mind. It is when you build it in your mind and you now buy it, that is when you've not manipulated due process. But if you do not, if you're small on your mind and you're driving a Maserati outside, you will soon kill yourself because of the disconnect between what the body you have on the outside and the kind of quality of person you have become on the inside. And that's when you invest heavily on yourself and become great in your social network, in your capacity to think, capacity to learn, capacity to solve problems, and the quality of mind you're rolling with and solving problems for. If you're able to build all those capacity and become strong, even though the fact around you might not reflect it immediately, you already have a faith capacity in your inner mind to build an imaginative reality for you. There is only a matter of time when associated with hope, power, courage, wisdom, revelation, discipline, and love in a lovely environment, you will start seeing that those facts will change. And then you would see a whole lot of difference in your life. So please, fact can lead you to fear, but it is only faith that brings courage. Courage flows with faith. So please, I would enjoy you anytime you're evaluating your life, evaluate it based on faith. Evaluate your word life as well. Please make sure the quality of words that come out of your mouth are words of truth and wisdom, word of faith, word of love, word of leadership, word of attitudinal improvement, word of miraculous and supernatural revelations, word of empowerment for yourself and even to empower others, because I need not to kid you that words carries power. Words carries power. The quality of the word you fill your mind with and the quality of the word you speak out of your mouth matters a lot. You see, on the day of cross-examination, we will all be examined by the words, even some of the words we speak carelessly. So please be careful when you want to use some negative terms to just describe yourself. Please don't do it, because even some just careless discussion may actually cause us to. What are the merits of an examined life? Of course, it's a life devoted to search of wisdom, moral virtue, and standard. It helps you make sure you get the right questions and get the right answer every time. Internal evaluation always prepares better for external evaluation. Continuous evaluation will help us deliver results better with faith, love, and improvement, and especially when managed with wisdom. Continuous and sincere evaluation leads to innovation and transformation of your persons and your system. You must build strong evaluation skills, observation skills. That means you must pay attention to your environment, connect the dots in how you see things, how you hear things. Please pay attention to details in your environment. Meditate and focus. Number 2 is that don't forget it's a lifelong process. You have to keep reviewing documents, reading books, learning new things, and thinking out of the box. Don't forget that evaluation will require that you continuously collaborate with people, build relationship with great minds. You may need to leverage surveying tools, listening to people's opinion, and so on. I have the story of the boy who cried wolf. I'll probably say it the next time we're meeting. I would like you to note my book, Transforming the Impossible, incorporating the 9 agile quality minds for leading sustainable improvement, innovations, and transformation. We spoke about 9 minds that would help you to lead transformation. So if you have not gotten a copy, please pick one. As I wrap up and end my presentation today, I want to thank you so much for bearing with me. I know it's a 1 hour of continuous speaking by now. I wish you many great transformations in your lifetime and many more for the generations you will mentor. But don't forget that to transform the impossible, it is about you. You are the impossible. It is the journey of the transformation of your mind that is the journey of the impossible. In case you didn't know, it's not the impossible around you that I was referring to. It's actually you, your mind, that has to deal with that impossibility. Because if I can get your mind to start transforming the impossible, then you will do it only a matter of time in your environment. I've heard that moments define transformational leader. Crucial moment makes the difference. Please make sure you start paying attention to moments in your life. Don't be trapped. Make sure you are always leaping and leveraging on the Kairos moment around you. Otherwise, you will be kept socialized. Thank you so much for listening. I want to appreciate everyone that took the time to stay to this moment. I know it must have been, it's a long lecture. So I'm open to questions. If we have anyone who wants to ask questions, please, it's question time. It's question time, please. If you have any question.
Okay, sir. I think I have one.
Please go ahead.
Okay. How do you measure the success of your transformational leadership efforts? How do you get to measure them? Like, let's say you impacting on somebody, and how do you get to measure the efforts that you're putting into the person's life? How do you get to measure it? Like, is there physical way you get to measure them, or it's I can't even do.
I get your question. Let me try and peep into it. Let me start by saying that is actually what will be in part 2. Okay. Because for you to measure accurately, you also need a framework.
Okay.
And I said I'm going to discuss 1 or 2, but let me just go ahead and talk about, I will just tell you their names so you can go online and start reading about them, so that by the time we're coming for the second session, I will only just need to break them down maybe a little further. Number 1 framework that I use personally. Before I even learned about it, apparently I'd been using it without even knowing. It's called the REHAIM framework. So it talks about the reach, effectiveness, adoption, implementation, and maintenance, REHAIM. Okay. So it talks about what's the reach that you're able to get to with that person, what's the effectiveness of your reach, how well is the person adopting the innovative or the transformative effort you're giving to them, how are you implementing it, that's implementation, and maintenance, what's the plan to maintain the effort? Because it's not just only about starting. Without commitment, you will not start. But don't forget, there's a Washington. Without consistency, you will not become anything. So the maintenance is also as crucial as starting. So if you're thinking about the reach, you also must be thinking about the maintenance, REHAIM. The other concept is the logic framework. That one speaks to what is the planned effect and what's the observed effect and what's the gap between it. And it helps you do a cross matrix with what's the input that is required for you to get the observed effect or to get the planned effect. What are other things in the system that you need to alter, and then what is the output and what is the outcome. So those are two popularly known frameworks that you can use for evaluation. Because of our time, but I hope I'm able to give you those 2 points. You can read about them yourself. However, during the next session, that will be next month, that will also be announced. I would actually put the framework on the screen, and I will try and write on a whiteboard, and then we'll discuss further. And I'll bring 1 or 2 examples from my book for us to discuss. How that's good?
Yeah, it's good. Sorry, this session, please, where can we get it if we want to try and listen again?
All right. Once once I download the record, I'll get it edited, then it will be uploaded on my YouTube channel.
Okay, sir.
So you can listen again. And please, I would encourage everyone to listen more than once, because even for me, I tend to re-listen to my videos sometimes, and I'm asking myself, when and how did you say this? And it helps me to also readjust myself back to the true north, because facing the true north is as crucial as living a great life. Any other question, please? Any other question? Our time is going.
Okay, you said something about in the beginning about veering off course.
Yes, please.
You said you took a flight from, I think, Rwanda. You took a flight of recent from Rwanda, and you could see from the plan on how you guys were moving. Is there, if someone goes off course, let's say he goes off course, trying to realign themselves back on the trajectory, how do I put this? Okay, let's say the person goes off course and he tries to realign himself on his path to being a transformational leader. You said something about it being a consistent and daily effort.
Yes.
Like you tend to, you don't really have a day off, or at the moment that you've had days off and you were able to bring yourself.
Thank you very much. Great question. Excellent thinking there. Now, you see, I said something, if you listen, because of the reason why the aircraft had to take some detour.
Okay.
Some countries' airspace do not have said legally don't go over our airspace. So you're going to go through some political tension with some people because you want to evaluate yourself sincerely. Some people will not like it. Some people want you to become like them, and so that you socialize together. So when they are watching or seeing movies and they're wasting precious time that you can use to drive greatness, if you remove yourself from that and say, I want to go and read, you have become the enemy of some people automatically. That's one thing you must be sincere with yourself about. So that's on a political, legally, some things will not be permitted. So because of that, you have to make a detour. So there's the PES2 analysis. We call political, environmental, social, economical, technological limitation, sometimes legal limitation, environmental limitation, religious limitations, and all those things could come into place in our lives and make you take a little detour. And sometimes they could generate a lot of pressure that even when you're consistent, you still have to bend a little until you're able to balance back to your true north. So it's not like you lost focus. Even though we're humans, we also have what we call ethical fading. Sometimes we just lose consciousness. But occasionally we can recover quickly. You can see a football match. Maybe I should do something that will resonate more with you. In a football match, some great teams will lose focus, and a smaller team will just capitalize on that weakness and beat them. And sometimes they get lucky enough that if they're able to quickly realign themselves back, they can recover back and still defeat the smaller team. So it just shows that maintaining consistency sometimes can be a tough battle. And that's why I'm more worried about teams that plays in leagues, like Premier Leagues or leagues as against teams that just comes for a competition and they just play 7 or 8 games and they win. They are good people. They are excellent, yes. But until you subject them to a life of a league life, because a league-like kind of life is the life we're living. Yeah. Every day, your life is being tested.
Yeah.
But if it's just a short burst of energy, everybody would do well and go and relax and go and sleep. Yeah. But life is not a short run, it's a marathon. And so you need consistency. And that's why when you get tired, sometimes you may take a little time to rest, but don't rest too much. Make sure you pick up energy again and start moving. Otherwise, you will lose the advantage of consistency. You will lose the advantage of compound interest, which is another wonder of the world, mathematically. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. Do we have any other person with a question? We're already an hour and 15 minutes into this program. So, all right. So what I would appreciate is if you subsequently think about a question, you can send it to my email. Once this video is uploaded, you can also ask the question under the comment section on my YouTube channel. I really want to appreciate everyone who has taken time to join today. Let me just look through everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for your time, and I really wouldn't take it for granted. And I hope you will give me some feedback, both good and bad feedbacks. I'm open to receiving them, please. If you have my personal number, ping me. You can drop a chat here. I'll see it before I close the meeting. But once I close the meeting, I might not see the chat again. So if you have my personal number, please send text across. Say the good things, say the bad things. Don't worry. Leave me to analyze them and become better by those things. What are the things you think we can improve upon, or that you want me to talk about in subsequent series, webinar series? Please, if you have a topic that is burning and you think it's becoming a major for you or for the people around you in your social context, in your national context, and you need some transformational leadership ideas or ideal about, please, it will be a good learning curve for me as for you. So I'm more than glad for us to explore those terrain together. We don't live life in isolation. We live life in a community. Even though transformational leaders need to learn the balance between isolating themselves to go and learn and become disciplined, and then assimilating themselves back into the community so that they can leverage what they have learned in their discipline moment to transform their society. Thank you so much. Do we have any question from anyone for the last time before we call this meeting a great one? All right. Thank you so much for listening, and have a blessed weekend. Bye.
Yes, sir. Bye.